This was the week for uranium where the fundamentals of this asset class dominated the price action and finally caused uranium stocks to diverge from the broader market. So this is when the fundamentals just cannot be ignored and investors realize how bullish this asset class is. Now, if Russia invades Ukraine and there's World War III, then no asset is safe, period, right? But in the event that humanity survives, the uranium fundamentals are screaming bullish. So let's go through the price action first of all, guys. Uranium, North Shore Global Uranium Mining ETF up 6% over the last 5 days, while the S&P 500 was down 2%. That's divergence. This is when the space can no longer be ignored, guys. And so why is this divergence happening? Well, if you want to watch my video with Terry Popino on the Camco earnings call, which happened on Wednesday, what they said, in addition to some other things we're going to cover as far as bullish drivers for this, what Camco said was that contracting begets contracting. So what they're seeing is nuclear reactors starting to contract for uranium prices, for uranium assets, right? They're starting to accumulate supply because they're worried about the future. They see an inflationary environment. They see kind of prices starting to rise. They see supply chain risks with Kazakhstan, Russia, all this stuff, and they're starting to get a little worried. And so contracting begets contracting. That's what the leaders of Camco were saying. They're saying that we're starting to see it pick up. The utilities think the price is going to rise. So they're starting to acquire. There's going to be a feeding frenzy and a herd-like mentality as utilities start to chase the supply and shore up and de-risk their supply. And that's what they were saying. Okay, so check out that video. It goes into more detail, but the reality is, guys, that demand is starting to pick up in a big way. And so here are some more fundamental drivers. So here's a tweet. Ouch, German power prices jump as France cuts nuclear forecast. Reactor outages have forced France to import electricity at times. Morgan Stanley sees meaningful likelihood of 2023 output cut. So what's happening is, because of some care and maintenance, because of some issues at the current French nuclear plants, nuclear energy output is low, which means that, clearly it's highly significant for the rest of the European Union as far as energy goes, because German power prices are directly linked to France nuclear energy output. That is so incredibly significant if you actually think about it, right? First of all, it just shows in a nutshell that Europe is dependent on nuclear power, and if it doesn't have it, prices spike. And the timing of this coincides with this announcement by France. France announces plans to build. This happened on February 11th. France announces plans to build up to 14 nuclear reactors. President Emmanuel Macron said Thursday that France would construct 6 nuclear reactors and study the possibility of commissioning further 8. Given the electricity needs, the need to also anticipate the transition and the end of the existing fleet, which cannot be extended indefinitely, we're going to launch today a program of new nuclear reactors. So this is kind of what we have been saying all along. All the uranium bulls for the last year have just been screaming from the rooftops that there's an energy crisis in Europe, and the solution is nuclear. France clearly sees that this way. And it's obvious when you see German prices spiking and France deciding, okay, well, the solution is nuclear. So let's invest heavily into that, right? The United States clearly sees it as a solution as well. The US Department of Energy tweeted this: we are starting a $6 billion civil nuclear credit program to support the continued operation of US reactors, a key component of the administration's goal to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. They're begging states to keep their nuclear plants open. So we know in California, the Diablo reactor is planning to be shut down. And the United States is bribing states, guys, please keep it open. Nuclear is the future. It's going to power everything. Let's invest heavily into nuclear. And so that is just, these are some indications, right? We have the utilities starting to contract more, and Camco talking about how demand is picking up and how prices are going to rise and how utilities are trying to front run that. You have the European energy crisis and Europe turning to nuclear as a solution. You have the United States turning to nuclear as a solution, investing heavily in it. And then you have this. This is a really cool tweet by John Quakes, okay? So investments in nuclear reactors is set to soar, with China and Europe alone looking to invest $1 trillion in nuclear to achieve their net zero goals, right? These guys are investing heavily in nuclear. It's happening all over the world. But Investment in nuclear fuel is near record lows, with billions needed to fund exploration in new uranium mines. Do you see the exploration budgets for uranium by country? Guys, it's plummeted. Literally, the exploration budgets for uranium are collapsing at a time when demand is skyrocketing. We've talked at length about the supply crunch. Camco talked about the supply crunch. The uranium spot price is not enough to incentivize supply. And so the uranium spot price is going to spike as utilities are expecting. This chart is obviously going to reverse course once that happens, because mines are going to have to come online to incentivize all this demand. And that's what we've been talking about. So the bullish narrative is just playing out like clockwork. And we've seen massive deep red moves actually, over the last few months in uranium, kind of shaking out the tourists. But the fundamentals of this asset class are getting more and more bullish, and we will stay on top of all these updates as they come out. Thank you guys so much for watching. This discussion is for informational purposes only. Please consult a certified financial planner when making any decisions about investing. And do your own research before making any decisions. Investments are risky, and you can lose lots of money in them.